Hey, welcome into the DNVR Rockies podcast, brought to you by Strava Craft Coffee. Remember to use that promo code DNVR20 because you get 20% off your entire purchase of that CBD-infused, deliciously rich, and potentially life-altering Strava Craft Coffee. I am your host, Drew Kreisman. I'm the managing editor of DNVR Rockies. With me, as always, is our beat writer, Patrick Lyons. And on this episode, we are going to have some fun on this Wednesday DFA show. For those of you that aren't joining us live, boy, are you going to be missing out for this one. You got to make sure that never happens again by hitting subscribe on that YouTube channel situation. Got to click the bell icon so you know when we're going live, because we're going to be showing all kinds of fun video clips today. Bloopers, blunders, dare we even say we must. It's contractually obligated that we say
it.
Boners, all of that on the podcast today, because we are talking about the wackiest, silliest, most memorable, just I've always liked the word zany. I'm going with zaniest. I grew up on the Animaniacs. This is a podcast today that we're going to be having, Patrick. We're going to talk about some of the most famous wild moments in baseball history. We're going to talk about some of the most famous wild transactions in baseball history. But we have to start where we know our audience is, where we are focused, where we always begin our conversations with the Colorado Rockies. We saw there in the intro a couple of memorable, fun and silly ones. But I got to say, when we first talked about having this be our topic of conversation for the podcast today, I went through one or two and I was like, man, okay, I can think of a couple of Rockies blunders. And then you're like, oh, yeah, and then there was that one. Oh, yeah, and then there was that one. And you're like, oh, yeah, wait, right. There's been a ton of them throughout the history of this team. So here we go.
You had so much fun watching that. Like, I just wanted to watch you watch the guys struggling with the tarp, the squirrel running around like crazy.
I'd forgotten about the squirrel. That made me so happy.
Drew Goodman almost getting his head taken off with George Frazier. There's a name, one of the original. It was those two guys right there in 93. So that was really cool. And we got a lot more fun ones like that headed your way. Bloopers, blunders, boners, gaffes, and more.
I'm just going to ask super producer Kale to go ahead and start throwing us highlights, and I'm going to respond and react to them in real time with whatever we've got on the Rockies side. Oh, here's an interesting question as he's pulling that up from our guy Henry. Was Adrian Beltre the funniest man in baseball or Prince Fielder during that era? I was a Prince Fielder man myself. I don't want to take anything away from the extent to which you can't touch Adrian Beltre's head. We're beginning. We got some Willeen Rosario to begin with here on our Rockies-related clips as well. That's fantastic. Anytime
Quite possibly the least athletic catcher the Rockies have ever had. And in that clip, you see Rosario crossed up, and so crossed up, he just happens to fall backwards. His helmet falls off. Kind of like a little league, like a child in little league. The ump helps him up, dusts off, his uniform, and he's all ice, looking around, going, "Hey, that's my catcher. That's my catcher." He held on to it. He held on to the ball. I mean, that is a trait that doesn't come with all Colorado athletes. So, props to Rosario for holding on to that one. Rob Scahill on the mound. Known to cross up many batters, probably crossed up more catchers in his time than hitters, unfortunately. And there you have Willie Rosario falling back on his tush.
It's so bad because I remember how bad Rosario was defensively, so much to the extent that they had to try him at first base, a position he'd never played before.
Yeah.
But you forget sometimes and then you see the visual evidence. You go, yep. It's not just that he couldn't frame up real good back there, folks. It was a nightmare.
He definitely struggled with that. That's an example right there of being bat first and a bat first player. And Tony Walters has had his share of stumbles, but they're like these athletic stumbles where it looks like he's running through the tires, on a football field, where you're like, wow, he just dodged the pitcher laying out for a ball, jumped over the bat. And you go, actually, no, that was pretty quite athletic. So William Rosario, thanks for getting us started. Now, most of these first clips are actually from 2014. You remember this one could be the tops. Bases loaded, Christian Friedrich on the hill, down 5-2 in the top of the third. That's okay.
All right, wild pitch scores. Oh no.
Wild pitch, 1 run scores. The batter from second ends up crossing home plate, and Christian Friedrich falls asleep, and the runner from first base scores on a simple old wild pitch, Gene Segura. Now, my favorite part of that entire play, as we watch it back again, is I went and I actually found the play-by-play breakdown of that inning of the third. Now, keep in mind, if you go back and look at that roster of the Brewers from 2014, they were pretty stacked with Jonathan Lucroy, Aramis Ramirez, Carlos Gonzalez, Mark Reynolds at first base, Gene Segura, their shortstop. They were pretty loaded. So Lucroy walked. Carlos Gomez fly to center. Erasmus Ramirez singles to right. So runners on first and second. Chris Davis was one of their corner outfielders. Second out, flies out to center. Mark Reynolds doubles to right. Gene Segura intentionally walked. So we've got the bases loaded. And then there's a paragraph to explain that singular play. Friedrich threw a wild pitch. Ramirez scored. Reynolds scored on an error by McHenry, which was unearned. Then Segura scored from first base, unearned. When the ball got away from catcher Michael McHenry on a cross-up, Ramirez scored. McHenry threw wildly to home plate, and the ball went towards the third base dugout. Mark Reynolds scored. Pitcher Christian Friedrich retrieved the ball and thought the play was over. Gene Segura scored when no one was covering home plate. That was literally the transcription of what happened. The poor scorekeeper had to say, the pitcher thought the play was over. No one called timeout. It was still active. And you have a bases clearing wild pitch. Those were the days, huh, Rockies fans? Those were the days of 2014.
You know what it reminded me of, Patrick? And this may or may not be an autobiographical story, but if anyone's ever rage quit in MLB The Show and like something really stupid happens, and so you're down 5-2, and 2 runs have scored on a wild pitch, which is really dumb already. And then what you do, because you're so mad because that's really stupid, is you throw your controller at the wall or the room, or you just put it down in disgust, and you put your hands over your eyes, and you're sitting there, and then you remember, it was one of the, like, that was a real life rage quit. That was just Christian Friedrich and Mike McHenry so upset that they just stopped playing the game for a second.
Here we got another one from 2014.
All right, this is more funny and less infuriating.
The cool Easter egg here is Charlie Blackmon there. He's got the beard, doesn't have the mullet yet. And you go, wait a minute, that the batter is wearing number 19. He's a left-handed hitter. His jersey also says Blackmon, but that's not Charlie Blackmon. Oh, no, that is, folks, because Charlie Blackmon, he didn't hit puberty until his mid-20s, and then he became Chuck Nasty, grew out all the hair, grew out the beard.
Growth. Right.
You can't just get a squirrel off the field like you can a cat. All right, they took care of it.
So Chuck's just going to get right back in. It's running around back there. Charlie's like, I'm fine. I'm focused. I can hit. 90% of the dudes in baseball will be like, are you kidding me? It's like sport where you call timeout when, like, this happened this year. Like, if somebody's out in the rock pile, like shining a light or something, they'll like, the batter will call timeout again. There was somebody in the trees out there, just beyond center field this year. They had to say, hey, get that guy out of the trees. He was like doing yard work out there, just kind of making it prettier, and they had to call timeout. There's a squirrel running around on the field, and Chuck is like, it's behind me, I'll hit.
It's kind of wild because we don't really have a lot of squirrels in Colorado. Coming from New Jersey, they are serious pests. Like, people will get cages, trap them, drive them like 10 miles away so they can't find their way back. And all right, now you're with a new family of squirrels. Colorado, we don't have too many. We got some dope squirrels. We got black squirrels and we got Abert squirrels, which have big ears, big tails.
Oh, wow,
this is just a regular old garden variety squirrel that somehow found its way to Coors Field and is running amok. Their pitcher's so annoyed. How do you get rid of a squirrel like that in that moment?
Right. What are you supposed to do? Look at him go. Was that AJ?
This guy's like, I live in Lodo. I don't know what to do. I'm a squirrel. This is my life, guys. Okay. Yeah. He's like, all of these people and no one has a piece of pretzel to throw me. What's going on?
Now it's just out and left and they're just going to go. Like, it's in the field of play. Like, don't hit the squirrel. Chuck going to strike out looking. What do you, I was real focused on the baseball there.
It's like, yeah, you know what? That's fine. I'm out of here.
I want an asterisk next to that strikeout in the box score. Squirrel. Asterisk.
Pretty much. I think the post-game report may have had some information about guys like, oh, did they get a platelet-rich injection or maybe a little cortisone shot? No, rabies. Pat Burrell was bitten out there in left field, unfortunately. So
Pat Burrell. I think that was AJ Burnett. That's the vestiges of an interesting era in Phillies history that we just got a glimpse of as well.
Yeah, they were not very good in 2014 either.
No,
so that may have been one of the more exciting things. And that's not the last time you're going to see the Phillies at Coors Field with a really interesting play, to say the least. The next clip that we're going to get going isn't a blooper, at least not for the Rockies. It's more of a blooper for the St. Louis Cardinals, and this is a really great Rockies memory that I'm sure a lot of people are going to give us some feedback about.
Yeah, this is one, again, I was taking the blooper moniker, negatively when we first thought about it. So I didn't think about this play because it's the invert of the Christian Friedrich thing, right? It's the other team making this stupid mistake. But it is great because it's so clever. And this is something that, they do teach in Little League that you can try every once in a while. Typically, you pull this off. Actually, the hidden ball trick is typically pulled off at second base, and it requires multiple people to actually make it work. In the major leagues, you're usually only going to get it to fool somebody at second base because it requires the pitcher and the outfielder and people making it work. But here, Helton just does it all by himself. Just gets him to buy for that just tick of a second. Just the casualness of baseball. We're in game 78 of 162, and he's just used to getting right back off the bag, didn't double check, and that's all it took, that split second.
Best part about that is Matt Carpenter was an all-star that year, and he ended up finishing 4th in the MVP voting. So could he have been 3rd had Todd Helton's, wise ways, veteran ways? Oh, man. And he's like, all right, he got me. And then he's got to look at his hands and try to figure out what just went down there against with Roy Oswalt on the mound there, the great number 44. Not bad, because this is one of his final games at Coors Field, too. So Todd Helton had to wait to hit the entirety of his career for this play in September of 2013. That's fantastic. I almost
pull that.
And he got it. That would be, I'm sure, something that at the time he talked about being one of the highlights of his career. Notice he kept the ball. He thought about throwing it back to the pitcher's mound, and he said, no, that one's going up on my mantle in Tennessee.
Yeah. I'm going to hang on to that one. I always love that play.
I never had a hidden ball trick. I was never able to pull that off in my days. Came very close, but was too timid. It was basically, if I would have dove back to the bag, I would have had this kid dead to rights. And I just wasn't brave enough. I held it. I held onto the ball, and I told the pitcher, like, just pretend like you already have it. And I already threw it back. Didn't work.
Didn't fully
Todd
commit.
got it done.
Fully commit. Yeah, he did.
I know Joey Votto got it done. I think sometime in the last 5 years. But other than that, you just don't see a lot of hidden ball tricks because guys just know, just stand on the base. Yeah. That's it. Here we got the great Rex Brothers, who was recently just released. So he's a minor league free agent. And the best part about this, there's a guy on base. He's going to end up balking twice. So the runner that's on first ends up getting to third by the end of it. But he actually strikes Michael Young out on 5 pitches. And that is because I think 2 strike threes were called a balk. And the ump goes, no, that's a balk. So it's no pitch. Dead ball, runner advances. Dominic Brown, who did he ever come up with the Rockies? I know he played with the Isotopes. He was a big prospect with the Phillies. The umpire
he never actually suited up. Yeah.
No,
is that Bob Davidson?
The umpire is pissed. What's that?
No, it's not. I'm going to say, is it Bob Davidson? Bach and Bob.
Yeah, Michael Young at the plate. Tom Runnels is just like, oh, God.
You kidding me?
These pitchers giving me agita. And then finally gets it.
The 2008 season ended on a balk. Now, they were already out of it, but I believe Taylor Buchholz committed a balk with a guy at third base in the bottom of the 9th on the road somewhere to end the game that mathematically eliminated the Rockies from the postseason in 2008. Forgot about that. We were looking at that.
Funny coincidence, and there's going to be a couple more coincidences coming up later on. Taylor Buchholz he wasn't traded for Roy Oswald. He was traded for Billy Wagner, and was in the Jason Hurst, Willie Tavares deal.
Yeah.
Former Lakewood Blue Claw. So I got to see him early on in his career. He was a good young pitching prospect with the Phillies before getting traded. So all of these are clustered right around the same period. I don't know if that's coincidental.
It all caused some kind of weird butterfly effect of crazy errors.
And to be fair, there's not a lot of great footage available on YouTube from like the Mile High days and the early seasons at Coors Field. So, we'll take that with a grain of salt. So we're picking on the 2014 Rockies and Rex Brothers, but I want another Phillies clip.
Yeah.
I want another. Phillies are featured very prominently here, and this is one of the most memorable plays. And what's funny is I thought about the 2007 Phillies, and I go, wow, look at the camaraderie of that 2007 Phillies team. They went to the World Series the next 2 years. They won it in actually 2008. They did lose to the Yankees in 2009. And you go, man, this is a kind of moment to really bring your organization together. And then I go, well, the Rockies went to the World Series in 2007. So I don't think they really needed to get out and deal with this tarp on a particularly windy day. But the entire Phillies team goes, screw it. Let's go help the guys that are helping us out on Coors Field. And you see the entire Phillies team, Chase Utley and all, going out to try to tame the beast that is the Coors Field tarp. Look how crazy that is.
Yeah. Yeah. That was, I remember watching that one on. This was right before I started covering games. So I wasn't at this one, but that is absolutely amazing the way you watch the Wind just play games with that massive tarp with human beings getting stuck underneath it, flying around. And it was always pretty cool to see. And the stuff like this happens every once in a while where the players will come out and help with the tarp or slide around on it and have fun. Anytime the tarp can get involved, I'm pro tarp. Tarp catch, Nolan Arenado. Tarps make baseball better. I think that's what we've learned here today.
And what the camera doesn't show, because this is someone's video, they brought a video camera into the stadium in 2007 because we didn't have smartphones then, is that it was pouring rain in too, is that it was coming down that day. Obviously, that's why you need a tarp, duh. But it's pouring, and Phillies are like, man, we're having a blast. We're having a blast. We got a good young club. Let's go help the grounds crew there at Coors Field. That would be a great conversation to have with anyone that was on that field that day, to see those guys come out and how much they appreciated those players really bailing them out, because that thing was a mess.
Indeed. All right, what else do we have on the how many more do we have? Let me take a look here from the Rockies side of things.
How many more do you want, baby?
Give me all of them,
Now,
man. I'm loving
this was the first one.
A
We
weird
have
ass
two more Rockies ones.
Two more Rockies ones. And then
Yeah.
you have to hang out here while I go and grab a Breck brew. So you can have to stay.
After the Rockies ones. Okay.
That's
Can
right.
do.
All right.
Well, this next one, Drew, when we were brainstorming this idea, this was the first one out of your mouth, and I hadn't remembered this play. It's not entirely crazy, but you go, oh, okay, that was kind of weird. And then how it kind of resolved itself was even weirder. So here we got Jose Guillen at the plate, Kauffman Stadium, deep fly ball to center, Dexter Fowler ranging back to catch it. Oh, really misjudges it. He's able to get the ball in. Guillen's going to have a stand-up triple, but the thing that gets missed in the play that they'll show in the replay is that when Fowler went up to make the grab, he kind of held on to the top of the fence for just a second. And as he did that, he no longer had a mitt. So his glove fell over. Esmil Rogers on the hill.
Esmil Rogers on the mound. Spilly out there.
He's like, hey, can we get some help? We got a guy who lost his mitt.
Well,
he's doing the dad whistle with the two index finger and middle finger in his mouth, trying to give the old.
I gotta say, next time we see him, we gotta ask him to do that. I said, I didn't know you could do that. First of all, Esmil's just hanging one right over the plate. Dex had no shot. I don't know why he thought he could catch that baseball, but yeah, loses that. How weird is it to see a ball player out in the field without their glove on, going to pick up the baseball too? As soon as he loses this thing over. Whoop, right over the fence, and then he starts chasing the baseball, and it's just weird to see a guy with no glove on one hand pick up and throw a ball.
And then eventually he goes,
his basketball skills.
That's the best part. That's what really, I think, ties in. You go, he lost his mitt. All right, that is weird. You definitely don't see that. That'll happen once or twice a year, maybe. But no, dude's got to climb over the fence, Sandlot style. Yeah, he's got to evade the beast. Okay.
Look at him go.
He's all right. He does have a bite mark on the back of his pants there. The beast got a nab at him, but he survived. He's like, hey, you got to do what you got to do, man. He does stop for a second, too. That's the other thing. When he lands and he comes down without the ball and mitt, he kind of stopped for a second like, I'm naked. My left hand is touching the air. This is not right. And then he goes, it's literally a half a second before his instincts goes, hold on, this play is still going on. But it is always weird. Like, do you know how to run without a mitt?
Right. Like how do you even continue to function? And it's a good thing he's 6'4" and had hops and used to play basketball and all that stuff to get over that fence. Cause I don't think Nigel Morgan's hopping that thing. I don't think, he's gonna climb up that like a Spider-Man, but Dex was able to get it a nice one hop and a pull. Impressive athlete. I love Dexter Fowler. I still love Dexter Fowler. I think I've said before, but even though lots of guys have been great with us, Dex is still the only guy who's ever actually retweeted one of my stories.
Oh, wow. Gotta like that. And we just saw Jose Guillen hit a deep fly ball. Here he is on the receiving end, goes up to get it, clanks off the scoreboard. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but then uncorks an absolute cannon to nab Neifi Perez at third base. One of the all-time greatest throws. It bonks off his head. All right, a little bit of a blunder. Yeah. But then he goes, screw this. Boom. Is it one hop or a strike? Nope, strike. You're out.
Strike from the warning track in right field after the ball bounced off his head. And Neifi, where are you going? What are you doing?
He's got the speed to get in there, but it required a perfect Ichiro-esque throw. Kale, I want to know, what's your take on these Pirates uniforms? All gray. The cap is gray with a black brim, black pinstripes on it. Yay or nay? Does it just look like it looks like sleep attire. It looks like pajamas a little bit, doesn't it?
Okay, I get the pajamas thing, but I also think they're kind of cold. And, like, for example, like if they weren't Pittsburgh, like if you were to take that same design instead of having the yellow on it on the front and it was a white outline text and those were White Sox uniforms, I would say they're some of the best uniforms in all of baseball. So, like, I need to be, like, a little honest with myself and be like, I don't like it, but I think I don't like it because it's Pittsburgh. And if you were to do a very similar thing with a team like the White Sox, for example, like I think that would be a really, really like dope setup.
Yeah, that I could see that working, like the gray, black, and white. I think I don't know if the Rockies could pull off something like that, but that would be interesting. Again, gray cap with a purple bill could be kind of interesting. There for a period of time in the 90s, I think a couple teams actually had pinstriped caps. In fact, these could have been pinstriped caps. No, they were not.
Oh, they should have been. That'll look nice.
The Mets for a period of time I believe had white caps. They also had black caps. So as much as it kind of looks played out and like, so Kale, you're not in favor of those. I get it, but it's the 90s. So now that stuff's starting to come back. We may see a sweet Pirates throwback where they go all gray like that.
I don't mind the all gray. I actually think the pinstriped caps would look pretty cool nowadays. I think that would be like, you couldn't do it as a primary or even necessarily like a secondary cap, but if it was like a special occasions throwback type thing, I think that would play really well, and I think you would sell a ton of them.
Yeah, the cool thing with the All-Star game is they always have a theme for their caps based on the home team. Like when in the past when they've been in Pittsburgh, they've had like the stovepipe kind of hat, that's just like totally around with like two, stripes going through it. So they do those themes. So that would even be something the next time the Yankees host the All-Star game. They did just host in 2008, but they haven't hosted at the new stadium. You could do one where maybe either the first two panels or even the back four panels are pinstripes, kind of a blend. That would be kind of neat.
Oh,
yeah, I think
enough
really
of
cool.
that. Enough of this nerding out about all the uniforms. Did want to get Kale's take before you leave. You can't leave yet. I do want to know what your favorite Rockies blunder was, and then we can move on to the rest of the. Do you have one, Patrick, from that group? Because we had seen most of these before, and I know some of these because they were a little bit before Kale's time. Probably you might have been seeing some of those for the first time. Just your gut reaction. Which one got you?
Worst all-time Rockies blooper. I guess we can't say the $106 million bullpen. So since we can't do that, you're talking about an actual play. That Friedrich bases clearing wild pitch is insane.
Yeah.
It's actually not as cartoonish as you would think. Like you would think the ball would be flying all over the place, and it really was like twice. Once or twice. Like it wasn't that bad. But it's just like that just should not happen, man.
Right.
That's crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Kinley. Sorry, guys. My dog is deciding to bark.
Kale has, and for anyone who doesn't know, Kale does every time he gets a new dog, he does name it after his favorite reliever in the bullpen. Of course, his dog is named after Tyler Kinley. We should have established that earlier. Your big Rockies fandom, Kale. He thinks that I said that. It's not true, but we can pretend on the DFA show it is true.
My favorite blooper has to be the squirrel. It's the only one I remember like watching when it happened, and that was like I had forgotten about it until I was making that intro video today, and it just brings a smile to my face. It's so silly. Like they can't do anything about it. There's just this squirrel running around the field.
And you're right. It is better. It is better than a cat, because a cat you go, oh man, hey. Spay and neuter your cats. Got it. Bob Barker. Where's this cat living? Oh no, I'll adopt the cat. Your heart gets into it, but it's just a wild out. It's just squirrel. You go, I don't really care what happens to the damn squirrel, but man, he's wacky. That's how wacky.
Great athletes who just have to stand there and watch it run around, and they're totally powerless. Millionaires just standing there watching this squirrel screw up their very important going on.
And then the other one I really loved was the Todd Helton hidden ball trick. I had never seen that before. I for some reason missed that when it happened in 2013, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And so, Kale, for a guy who had never heard of such a play, hidden ball trick, if I had asked you that before seeing the clip, where would you have guessed that the baseball player hides the ball?
Not in what you initially tried to describe it to me earlier.
Hey, that was off air. We're not going to bring that up. That's a pre-production meeting.
Airing dirty laundry.
I'll leave it at that. Not there.
Okay. Fair enough.
And on that note, we're having a good time here on the DFA Show on Wednesdays, and I'm cracking open a Breck brew as we continue to look at more fun video. You know, I got this one from my local King Supers right across the way. You can get them at any liquor store. You can get them down at the DNVR bar where we are at safe capacity, keeping everyone social distanced and all of that stuff. But of course, my favorite place to get them is out at the farmhouse. You call 303-803-1380 from noon to 8 p.m. Use that promo code DNVR because you'll save $5 off both the beer and the food, and you can get that curbside pickup again anytime between noon and 8 p.m. And though I highly recommend you make you do this in reverse order. So get your Breck brew and set it aside for a minute because you shouldn't bet buzzed. I highly recommend that you keep your betting stuff mostly very sober, but I do highly recommend that if you're a big sports fan, which we know you are, and you've never really gotten into the betting side of it, you consider it. It's a whole lot of fun. You use the DraftKings Sportsbook app. You can bet low dollar amounts. You can find out, the kind of extra thrill of maybe a game you wouldn't otherwise be interested in, a sport you maybe otherwise wouldn't be interested in, an event like a candy eating competition that you maybe otherwise wouldn't be interested in. And now you've got a great evening of entertainment for the entry price of maybe $5 or $10 that you got to throw somewhere. And even if it doesn't go your way, you had a whole lot of fun. And if it does go your way, then at the end of the night, not only did you have fun, there's more money in your wallet. And that's a pretty cool situation to have for yourself there. So download that DraftKings Sportsbook app today. Use the promo code DNVR. Oh, I'm sorry. We've got a different promo code now. Excuse me. We got the promo code Rainbow when you sign up to get. So let me see. Now I got to figure out what what is it? That's up to $100. Oh, it's the $1 to $100. Let me see. I'm sorry. We've got the new promo now, and I should have taken a look ahead of time. I'll get it for you. Ah, there it is.
We're trying to give away some free money here. Don't worry, Drew. Right? We're going to be patient because we're talking free money here. It's fine. Right? It's free money. We will wait as long as we need to wait. It's free money.
All new users are covered up to $100 for Sunday's action. That's right. If you bet, they cover risk-free with Sunday betting. So use the promo code Rainbow to get that. That's up to $100 insurance. You bet, they cover you up to $100 when you use promo code Rainbow during sign up for a limited time only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be 21 or older, Colorado only, risk-free coverage paid out in site credits. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem, call 1-800-522-4700. I got there. I got through it. I did it. We made it. We made it through it together. Thanks, man.
All right. Here's what we've got next. So we were out of the Rockies ones.
Okay. Just give me more silly baseball. What do we got? Yes. An all-time classic. This was
another one you had mentioned. Yeah. Yes. Turner Ward goes back, catches it, smashes through. Here's the best part. My arms broke. And just lobs it. He doesn't even lob it. I don't even know what you would call that. His arm is just limp by his side. He's got a big wad of bubble gum. He's like, "You all right?" He's like, "Yep. I'm fine." Smashed through the padding and the plexiglass on that play.
Ball's in his glove too, man.
Yeah, Three River Stadium was brutal. The coincidental thing that comes back around to this is you remember who hit that fly ball that Dexter Fowler lost his mitt, right? That was Jose Guillen, right?
Right.
And you remember the guy in right field who threw out Nafi Perez in right field, right? Yeah. Well, the guy who replaced Turner Ward in right field after that play because he could not continue to play was also Jose Guillen.
Fantastic.
The dude's everywhere. He's got some kind of voodoo going on. That's insane.
I gotta
Jose
say, Ward
Guillen
was
is
built like a
sponsoring this
truck.
podcast,
That-
of course.
yeah, that wall didn't stand a chance. The guy was built like a linebacker. But yeah, those are how unnerving must that have been? You do not expect when you jump into a wall for the wall to be the one that loses the matchup. Like, wow.
And I also think before the game, somebody else broke through the plexiglass in left field during batting practice, which is weird. Yes, I don't. That's rather coincidental. But all right, so this next play that we're going to look at is probably one of the best and worst reasons to follow baseball or to be into baseball. Again, it is hilarious, but it is also so frustrating.
Loaded.
So Mike
Announced
Morse,
Cardinals.
with the bases loaded, goes the opposite way there in St. Louis. Ball hits off the top of the fence, should be a home run, kicks back into play. Insanity ensues.
Oh no!
Morse is tagged out at first, and you go, "Oh man, that should have been a home run." If only we had instant replay. Well, we do. We do have instant replay, and we may want to fast forward this a little bit. So what should have been a grand slam ended up being a single where one run scores and Morse gets tagged out. So he's out. So the Nats definitely got screwed out of the situation. So now the umpires are going back. They're looking at the replay to try to figure out, did this ball actually go over the fence? And of course, everyone is standing around waiting. The thing we all love in our professional sports is standing around and waiting. Mike Morse doesn't even have his helmet on. He's like, we're going to be here for a minute. We're waiting, and then we're still waiting. Even in this clip, we're waiting. It takes so long for these umpires to figure out what to do. So now eventually,
like the Undertaker's entrance at WrestleMania.
Eventually, the umpire explains to the Nationals dugout, like, hey, all right, it's going to be a home run. And Mike Morse starts jogging around second base, and they say, wait. Hold on. We got to make sure that the runners don't pass each other. So go backwards. So Mike Morse, now standing between second and third, has to run backwards, touches second base, touches first base, so to make sure that, again, the play is run properly. And they go, oh, you want me to go back to home plate? So everybody goes back a base. Mike Morse goes back to home plate, and they say, so you want me to really just he has no bat in his hands, swings the bat. Okay, now let's do it. Now they run around the base. Run,
Patrick.
best and the worst play in baseball history might be that one right
This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. I've never seen this before.
I have, and I had forgotten, and then halfway through, as Patrick was explaining it, I was like, okay, I remember where this is going. They had to do a silly little base running thing. I had forgotten how silly, but he was standing there with no bat in his hand, just going, and then running around the bases.
Ian Desmond's up next. You see a young Bryce Harper there. He's about 22 years old. And Mike Moore still doesn't really know what happens. He's like, he doesn't even understand the enormity of how insane it was to go, oh, you actually want me to touch second base and then go back to touch first base. Well, you want me to go back into the batter's box. Okay, do I need to hold a bat? No, of course not. That would be silly, Mike.
Unreal.
Right?
We have some very silly rules in our game, Patrick. There are certainly, but you saw him do it, touching all the bases too, and but it's just, imagine if you saw that in a little league game, you would think it was hilarious and something weird about little league. You would say you'll never believe it's crazy at Little League, man. You see the wildest things in Little League. That happened in Major League
You
Baseball.
probably couldn't even get the kids to follow the instructions of okay, you got to run backwards. What?
And the second they did it wrong, where they had called one of the kids out. Oh, yeah. Goodness. All right. While I recover from that one, let's.
Ryan Rayburn there in left field, and we're building up towards a similar play like this one.
Oh,
but
no.
You see him fall down, and you go, well, where did the ball go? You'll see it better on this angle. Like I said, we're building up towards probably the most notable blooper of all time. Here, Rayburn's going back, tries to make a grab on it, can't hold on to it, and as such, hits off the palm, the middle of his mitt, and goes over the fence for the assisted home run.
Oh,
he's got it. And
to Ryan Rayburn to
over the wall. Spike by Ryan Rayburn. And former Rockies catching legend Miguel Olivo has his first home run of the season. There you see it better.
In the glove, out the glove, over the wall on a dive. He almost made a spectacular catch.
Phil Koch, what a nice guy, giving him a hug, saying, it's okay, no one's going to remember this play. Oh, you think so, huh? Because we're going to be watching it in Colorado in a decade later. Still not forgetting that, Ryan.
Oh, man. That's that's got to be rough. And the pitcher's going again. Can I get the asterisks on that home run? It's like because it goes down in the box score as a home run, and his ERA takes a ding and all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
like, man.
When I was a kid, I used to hate it when I watched football and a pass would get deflected and will get picked off. I go, that shouldn't count. That should not count against the quarterback. I always hated that because it's like it's this weird variable that totally changes the play. And there you got a ball that would have been caught, I don't know, maybe 70% of the time, maybe less, but 100% of the time it was not a home run in no ballpark. Even in Fenway, not a home run. Banks off the wall and you got a double. But
what year was that? Because that's probably right before StatCast, right? Because I want to see the hit probability on that.
Patrick, I am missing one of these links. If you can find it real quick for the Canseco home run off of his head, it is the same link as the assisted home run.
Spoiler, that's the one that we were definitely building towards. That's the most famous of all time.
Or if you can find it and send it to me, that would be awesome.
It's the first video on my MySpace page, so just go there and you'll see it. I'm never
your top 4 friends.
Let's watch the other one in the meantime.
All right, this one also takes place in Detroit, believe it or not. Sean Casey, the mayor, because
baseball.
He's just best friends with everybody.
Yes. I love this. I love this so much. This is stupid.
He thought the ball got caught by the third baseman. I think that might have been Joe Randa. It wasn't. The left fielder makes a great play, and then you see the lumbering Sean Casey get thrown out. He doesn't even throw his helmet. He's like, no, that's on me. A 7-3 putout. Actually, no. Because the third baseman slowed it down, it was actually a 5-7-3 putout. Probably the only time.
Only one ever.
Yes, easily. Easily the only one.
Getting thrown out at first base by the left fielder. That's got to be a unique achievement in baseball. Another spike your controller moment. Actually, this isn't even possible to do in the video game because the video game character automatically just runs to first base. You can't stop him from running to first base. So that you like, congratulations to Sean Casey, I guess. I always liked him too. In his post-baseball career. Phenomenal analyst.
Very likable guy.
Very, very likable. I've never met him, but it seems that way. And so always enjoyed him on, I'm trying to remember which shows he was on the network back in the day. But yeah, man. He's from New Jersey.
He's a Jersey boy. He's from Jersey. Of course he is because he's great, right? Yeah. And he kind of got me back into baseball a little bit, took a little, break as you do at times and got back into it and started collecting Sean Casey baseball cards. So I was like, oh, this guy's from Jersey. He seems very likable. Had a good career, not great, but he's the mayor. Like everybody knows and loves Sean Casey, even after a play like that. That being said, Carmelo Martinez, congratulations, because you just hit a home run thanks to Jose Canseco's steroided out head. Now, of course, Ken Griffey Jr. in the Simpsons episode Homer at the Bat took the brain tonic and his head got inflated. But really, Jose Canseco, there's his center fielder. I think that might be Rusty Greer. just laughed. He's like, that hit off my head? Yes. Yes, it did, Jose. It clunked off of your head and went over.
I mean, you couldn't, if you tried to do this, if you had somebody stand at the second base position and throw the ball, or in medium deep right field and try to just throw the ball and bounce it off the top of his head and out, if he was trying to get there and bounce it out with his head, you probably couldn't achieve this.
Doesn't even rub his head. Doesn't even take his hat off. He's like, "Ooh, man, I might get a little knot." It's like I can't feel anything on my body.
I think I need entirely of sauce and meat and cheese and steroids.
Yeah, I'm gonna need another needle in my left butt cheek. Oh, it's the right butt cheek day today. Okay, got it.
Oh my!
Now he's not laughing so much. He's like, "Ah, man, that's kind of embarrassing."
Because at least with Rayburn, right, like in theory, he made the right play there, right? And we've seen plenty of other times where the ball bounces in and out of somebody's glove. If it hits your glove a little too hard, or you're flopping, or you're hitting something, it might pop out of your glove. And then it just so happened to pop out of his glove and go over the wall. Super unfortunate. He made, the play. He got his glove to the baseball. That's what you're trying to do there. Jose Canseco just misses it entirely, and it hits him in the damn head. Oh, no, we can't hear Kel.
I just can't get over how much this would hurt.
You would think,
right?
He's walking around like it's nothing. And I'm like, dude, you just got a baseball that was going like 90 plus miles an hour straight to the noggin.
Yeah. Look at the height that it gets off of his head, too. That it almost goes in the front row of the bleachers. Like, that's probably the hardest part of your forehead, though, like that top part. Like if you're playing soccer, you're probably going to try to hit it off there.
Ow.
Yeah. Do you know Jose Canseco, Kill? Do you know that name?
I am aware of him only from the Tales of the Steroid era.
Okay, fair.
Right.
That's fair. That's about right.
Yeah. You see how little distance he got off the ground on the jump, by the way? Maybe 2-3 inches. Like that was an entirely lateral jump. He was barely moving on. So even then, like for the ball to hit him square in the head where it needed to, he had to unleash one of the weirdest jumping motions in the history of right fielders. Just everything about that was so bizarre. But yeah, at least Ryan Rayburn, Phil Koch's going to go over and say, hey, man, you almost made a great play. That's never going to happen again. You got your glove on the thing. Sorry that happened. But Jose Canseco, didn't get the glove to it. Hit you in the head.
No.
How to hit you in the head.
Some of my favorite bloopers that I couldn't find was Marcelo Zuna trying to climb the fence and then falling down and almost breaking his neck from, I think that was 2019.
Right.
That's one that, again, I think most fans can remember. Also from the Cardinals, Yadier Molina having so much pine tar on the front of his catcher's gear. So, because pitchers can't scuff the ball up, they can't do anything to the ball, but catchers can get creative. So he has so much pine tar on his chest protector that the ball bounces up and he's looking around on the ground going, where's the ball? Where's the ball? And it's stuck to his chest protector.
Yeah.
Not in any kind of gap, not in his face mask where you go, oh, it got lodged. No, it's just literally on there like a piece of Velcro that's just stuck to him. That's a noticeable blooper. Hunter Pence in the World Series, he hits a baseball 3 times. And then this one, I wanted to bring this one up. I didn't know if you remember this one. I figured you might have.
Yeah,
but in a Troy Tulowitzki giveaway night in 2014, again, 2014.
What a year to be alive.
What a year. Rockies giveaway, I think 10,000, and they misspell Tulowitzki. They spell Tulowitzki. And
this is so bad. This is so bad.
It was bad. It was bad. They were rightfully flamed at the time. And as we talked about a couple of weeks ago, we started, remember, our retro looks with 2014 because that team had the best offense in franchise history. And they were such a comedy of errors in every other way. The pitching was a nightmare. The Christian Friedrich 3 runs on a wild pitch, all that stuff. And yeah, misspelling their own best player's name, like by far their best commodity at the time. It was, that was also the season where Kyle Kendrick was named opening day starter at like 35 years old. As you know, it's just like some random off the scrap heap pickup. There were so many things about 2014 that were just, what are we doing here? Was that the Jamie Moyer season? Did Jamie Moyer pitch for the Rockies in 2014 as well?
I don't know if it was that year or the one before that.
Or the one before.
But I remember when that happened with the Tulowitzki jerseys, because I lived in Colorado at the time, but even still now have a close connection, keep an eye on what's going on in the New York market. But I think it was soon after this that I think the Rockies might have been playing the Mets. Do you remember this, Drew? The Rockies had been playing the Mets, and they were either playing at night or it was some kind of an off day. And Tulowitzki went to a Yankee game. He was like sitting behind home plate. Yeah. And of course, the New York market goes, well, this guy is coming to the Yankees. They'll trade him. They'll figure out some kind of deal because they can't spell his name right. He's already going to Yankee Stadium hanging out. It's a done.
Yeah. Yeah. That was everything they okay, Will. It was 2012. Okay, good. So not every ridiculous thing happened to the Rockies in 14. Of course, we know plenty of ridiculous things have happened to and by them in several other seasons as well. Oh, apparently you're muted. I can't hear you, Patrick. Oh no. We've lost radio contact.
It says he muted himself, so I can't unmute him.
I'm here, guys. It's just
we just felt so lonely and lost without you there for a minute.
It's all good, baby. It's all good. All right, so this is another one that you mentioned, Drew, in our pre-production meeting last week, and our boy Will Carpenter, of course, had to mention it. This is the precursor to the play that we just saw with Turner Ward. This one's a little bit more brutal. I think this is like late 80s fly ball, minor league ballpark. Instead of plexiglass and padding, no padding whatsoever. Just a wooden plank on the wall. Good Lord.
Rodney McRae.
It's amazing that this video still even exists. Or that it existed at the time. Who's recording minor league baseball games in the late 80s?
Right.
This poor guy.
Boom.
Wow. Goes through it. He should get a black belt. I get it. People train to put their foot or their hand through a wooden board to break it. He just did it with his face and torso. So I think he should get a black belt. And yeah, he's wearing one right now, of course. But that's really besides the point.
Oh man, that and the way his his left arm just kind of sticks out there for a second, and just obliterate the wall splinters and fractions. Yeah, that one was just that's almost too. It's sort of professional wrestling. It walks up to that line where you're like, amazing highlight that Mick Foley got thrown off the Hell in a Cell cage and through the table, and we've all seen it like this video hundreds of times, but it exists right on that line between thoroughly entertaining and my God, I can't believe he's still alive. Yeah.
Is he alive? Yeah, I can't make that assumption right now.
Yeah.
Right, I was going to tell you about this one, but I wanted to get Kale's reaction on this one.
All right.
Paul O'Neill makes a great play. He's pissed, but makes a great play. Lenny Dykstra, single to right field, bobbles it, and kicks the ball out of frustration, but kicks it right to the first baseman and holds the runners at second and third base.
The guy from scoring.
Had you seen that one, Drew?
I had seen crazy.
Yeah, this is a pretty classic one.
This is wild.
He's like, pissed.
Kicks it, and it manages to keep it in play. That's nuts. Yep.
Steve Jeltz on third base going, I got to hold up. That might be Todd Benzinger at first base, maybe.
Boom. And just the perfect. And he's just that could have been so bad if he shanks that 2 runs are going to score, and he's going to be in so much trouble.
Yeah, Lou Piniella is his manager, so he definitely would have given him an earful.
So if he'd have shanked that, we might have had to report on a murder.
That is, I have seen a lot of things today that I had never seen before. I will say that much.
That was our goal at this show.
So here's the question then. If you watch this as someone who, you're a fan of baseball, might not be a hardcore fan, do you think something like this would, like turn somebody on to baseball? Like, is this encouraging in a sense?
I don't know that because these things happen so few and far in between. It doesn't make me want to turn on a random baseball game, but it was really entertaining.
You never know. Squirrels,
especially as someone who likes baseball. I don't know. Maybe as someone who doesn't like baseball, I think they would still find these funny. I guess would be my point.
Because I don't know if the other sports don't have the room to do it. I don't think.
There's some really good hockey bloopers out there of some.
I was about to say there's none
happening in hockey.
I've seen some interesting ones with usually they're in shootouts. There's a lot of great bloopers.
Yeah, guys score on themselves in hockey, and sometimes it's ridiculous, and it happens because it hits the back of their butt pad and bounces off the goalie's mask, and that stuff is ridiculous.
The best one I saw when I was looking at hockey bloopers was a goalie who somebody got on a straight breakaway and was headed right toward him, and the goalie just turned around and flipped the net over rather than try to stop it was like a 2 or 3 on 1. So he flipped, and that gives them a penalty shot. But he was like, I'm going to take a 1-on-1 instead of a 3-on-1. So rather than even try to make a great play with 3 guys bearing down on him, he just turned around and flipped the net over. And I was like,
it's an incredible strategy. It's an incredible strategy. It really is.
But the thing that I think makes baseball more unique a little bit is just that if you went toe to toe, the best blooper clips, a lot of those plays, an own goal, either in soccer or in hockey, you go, all right, those are kind of similar. Give me 2 or 3. I don't need 25 of them. All right. Baseball, you could come up with all kinds of weird, crazy plays that are totally unique unto themselves. And I think, again, that's what makes baseball great and makes it crazy because you have umpires saying, okay, guys, we got to get this right. 10 minutes later after you hit a home run, go back, touch the bases, pretend you have a bat, swing it.
That's the silliness of baseball that cannot be duplicated in any sport. The man sitting there going, that incredible. That cannot be replicated in any sport.
Well, I think we're going to have to continue to let the fun spill over until tomorrow because we did want to talk about some of the wildest moves and transactions in baseball history, but we're running out of time. The good thing is, I think most of you know this, we do this every day, not always the DFA show. You got to be here on Wednesdays. You got to subscribe to the YouTube channel specifically to make sure you're here for all this live video, all these clips we're playing, getting all the intakes from super producer Kale here. You don't want to miss Kale. Basically, if you're only listening to the podcast of this and you're not here for the live videos, you have missed Kale's beautiful face this entire time.
I have new facial hair.
What is that facial hair?
I was going to say he's also getting ready for a WCW 1998 run with Arn Anderson. And
could be. It is a little Lash LaRue like. I thought very clearly a Lemmy from Motorhead, which falls into the Triple H category as well.
Yeah.
I was going more for an early 1900s politician vibe, I think, is where I was going.
Oh, especially if you grow that out.
Yeah, get the bushiness on the sides. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We'll see.
I think you're trying to be I think you're trying to get you're trying to get a part in Hamilton. This is where this is leading, and I'm gonna have none of it right now.
Kale's commitment to Hamilton. Did AJ end up watching it? We gotta check in with everybody. Everybody out there, watch Hamilton. Now that I no longer have to tell you to vote or do other things, that's the most important thing I can tell you to do. Go watch Hamilton. Right?
True. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
PSA.
I watched it on Tuesday, in fact, because we all needed that in our lives.
Yeah, we did. So, Join us tomorrow for not on the YouTube, but on Facebook and Periscope. We'll still be live at 4:05, and we will continue to talk about some fun and silly things because we're going to still probably need to be talking about some fun and silly things. Make sure that you join us. Make sure you're following everyone on social media at Drew Creasman, at Patrick D. Lyons, at Kale Sorbo, and of course at DNVR_Rockies. You got to subscribe to the DNVR.com so that you don't miss out on any of that written content. Plus, you get discounts on hats, shirts, masks. You get a bigger beer when you come on down to the DNVR bar. All kinds of fantastic stuff comes along with being a part of one of the coolest and most importantly, kindest sports communities anywhere in the world. Join us here at the DNVR. We know that you will all continue to be absolutely awesome out there. We will continue to be absolutely Patrick Lyons, Drew Creasman, and Kale Sorbo in here. And until next time, we'll see you at the ballpark.